Hello and welcome! Today we're jumping into a really beautiful and historic bookbinding technique that, believe it or not, is perfect for beginners and seasoned pros alike. We're talking about the French link stitch. So, why do so many crafters absolutely love this method? Well, this quote from Instructables pretty much hits the nail on the head. It's this perfect marriage of being gorgeous to look at and incredibly functional, which makes it a favorite for things like journals and sketchbooks. So here's our game plan. We'll start with what makes this stitch so special and why you'd want to choose it. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty, the actual tutorial, covering all the prep and the sewing steps. After that, we'll explore how you can add your own personal flair, and then we'll wrap it all up.
Okay, let's dive right in. The thing that makes a French link stitch so recognizable, so iconic, is that beautiful open spine. So at its heart, the French link stitch is just a way to sew groups of pages together. Simple enough, right? But what makes it different is that instead of hiding all that thread work, it puts it right on display, creating that amazing crisscross pattern that becomes the star of the show.
And this isn't some newfangled technique either. It has a super rich history, going all the way back to 16th century France. And it's thought that its decorative style was actually inspired by embroidery patterns that were popular back then. You can totally see that creative DNA jumping from fabric to paper.
All right, before we get any further into the how-to, there's one key term you absolutely have to know: a signature. Just think of it like a little mini booklet. Your final book is going to be built by sewing a whole bunch of these signatures together, one right on top of the other. Okay, so there are dozens of ways to bind a book. What is it about the French link stitch that makes it so popular, especially for people making books by hand?
Well, it really just boils down to three fantastic reasons that hit that sweet spot between looking good, being easy to do, and being super practical.
So you've got this awesome balance. First, you get that gorgeous X pattern. It just looks so professional. Second, it's one of the easier stitches for a beginner to really get the hang of. And third, and this is the real game changer for any artist or writer, the finished book lays completely flat when you open it. No more fighting to keep the page down.
I love this quote from Reddit because it really captures the philosophy here. Picking a stitch isn't just about looks, it's a structural decision. You're basically building a machine, a piece of engineering to protect the pages. And the French link stitch, it's a particularly elegant and effective little machine.
All right, let's get practical. Like any good project, the secret to a great result is all in the prep work. Getting your materials and your setup just right is half the battle.
And the great news is you don't need a huge, fancy workshop for this. These are the basics: some paper for your signatures, a good strong thread like linen, an awl to poke nice clean holes, a needle, a bone folder to get those super crisp creases, and of course, a ruler.
The whole prep process is a pretty straightforward three-step dance. Step 1, you fold your paper into those signatures we just talked about. Step 2, you make a little template. This is going to make sure all your holes line up perfectly. And Step 3, you use that template to punch your holes, your sewing stations, into every single signature.
Now listen up, because this is a huge tip that trips up so many beginners. Your template must have an even number of holes. Why? Well, that structure is what lets you create those beautiful linking stitches down the middle, and it also gives you a place to tie a special knot at the top and bottom to keep the whole thing secure.
All right, everything is folded, punched, and ready to go. Now we get to the really satisfying part: actually sewing your book together. This diagram here really shows the basic move. You start with a simple in and out stitch on your first signature. Then, when you add the next one, you loop your thread under the stitch from the signature below it. See? That's the link in French link stitch. You just keep repeating that, building your book up, one signature at a time.
Okay, here is a fantastic tip from an expert that will save you so much frustration. When you're making that link, when you're looping under the previous stitch, turn your needle around and lead with the eye of the needle, not the sharp point. This way, you never accidentally split the thread you're looping around, which keeps your stitches looking clean and strong. And at the very end of each signature, you'll secure it with something called a kettle stitch. As you can see here, it's basically a little knot that anchors the signature you just finished to the one right below it. This is what keeps the whole binding tight at the ends and stops it from getting all loose and floppy.
So once you've really nailed that basic sewing pattern, the fun can really begin. This is where you can start to customize and add your own unique style.
You've really got two main paths you can take. The classic, unsupported version we've been looking at is amazing for soft-cover journals, but for bigger projects or hardcover books, you can do a supported version where you sew the stitches over things like tapes or ribbons. This adds a ton of strength and opens up a whole new world of design possibilities.
And this is where your inner artist can just go wild. For those supports, you can use anything from traditional linen tapes to fancy satin ribbons or even leather strips. And the same goes for your thread. Swap out the standard stuff for colorful embroidery thread or even yarn to make that pattern on the spine really pop.
Okay, so we've covered its history, why you should use it, and exactly how to do it. So what's the big picture takeaway here? The most important thing to remember is that the French link stitch is basically your passport into the amazing world of book arts. It gives you all the fundamental skills you need to start creating books that are functional, durable, and 100% you. We've given you the blueprint. From this point on, the path is yours to create. And the story that your first book tells, well, that's entirely up to you.